Good morning and welcome to Farm Factor. I'm your host, Jamie Bloom. Today, Duane Toews visits with Greg Tylka about the soybean cyst nematode. Then it's this week's Kansas Soybean update. Following that, Duane Toews and Bill Beam talk about the differences and similarities in the latest Farm Bill. Then it's the Kansas Farm Bureau update, and we'll end with Plain Talk featuring Kyle and Duane. Stay with us.
Closed captioning brought to you by Ag Promo Source. Together we grow. Learn more at agpromosource.com. This segment brought to you by Kansas Farm Bureau, the voice of agriculture. To join today or more information, go to kfb.org or find us on Facebook and Twitter.
Welcome to Farm Factor. Up first today, Duane Toews visits with Greg Tylka to talk about preventing the soybean cyst nematode.
Duane Toews joining you once again here on Ag AM in Kansas, and an opportunity to catch up with Greg Tylka talking about soybean cyst nematode. And Greg, I know you're really in as a researcher kind of on the ground floor of some of that a number of years ago. Unfortunately, the problem remains. Cyst nematode is one of those particular pests that some guys don't even know how much yield they're losing.
Duane, you're exactly right. I call it a hidden yield robber. I liken it to high blood pressure with humans. A lot of folks have that and don't know about it. And it's as serious of a problem as high blood pressure is. And so the SCN Coalition is a national effort to make farmers aware of the problem and then to talk to them about how to best manage it.
Talk a little bit about some of those things that are going on in the research. Obviously, for those that have dealt with them before, we know there are different races of nematode. They evolve over time, and it's kind of led to some of the reasons why we need continued research.
So in the 1990s, we did the first SCN Coalition, and its message was very simple. Take the test, beat the pest. So if a farmer did the soil sampling to discover they had SCN, they simply started growing resistant soybeans. And that worked really well for over 2 decades. But those resistant soybeans had all the same genes, essentially. And so now Mother Nature has thrown us a curveball, as we expected she would, and the nematode has become resistant to the resistance. And so research is desperately working to come up with new types of resistance, varieties with different sources that we've known about for decades. And then also a big area of research is seed treatments to put onto the seeds to help the native resistance against the nematode.
Talk a little bit about that testing. Obviously, a soil test required. What's the best timing of that for a grower to see if they have a problem if they were unaware?
Well, I jokingly say, but it's sincere, the best time to sample is when you're able to do it. But if you're able to do it at all times of the year, probably the most useful is in the fall. So that way you have your results heading into the winter and you can plan the next year's crop. But it's certainly okay to sample in the spring once the ground thaws if you're in a northern climate, or even in the summer if you see something weird and you want to have it checked out.
Obviously, the problem kind of started, I guess from my perspective, it kind of ran up the Mississippi River Basin. Is that your perspective as well?
Yes, it was first found in the coastal region of North Carolina, but it very quickly jumped to the Boot Heel of Missouri, and then it's been spreading up and down from there. But it's also had spread through the south from that first discovery in North Carolina.
So in essence, we end up with additional soybean growers that maybe 10 years ago didn't have a problem. Today they may.
They may, and anything that moves soil can move the nematode that produces eggs in a very resistant female or cyst, and those things are tiny and could be in windblown soil particles or particles that are moved on equipment. So yes, it's something that everybody throughout the U.S. who grows soybeans needs to be aware of.
When you reference tiny, it's not to the naked eye, unfortunately. A grower really has to use that soil test to see if they've got it.
Right, exactly. And one of the things I can point viewers and listeners to is the website of the SCN Coalition, which has a map you can click on for your state and find out what the soil test labs are that do that test in your state. And that website is the scncoalition.com. No spaces. The scncoalition.com.
Our thanks to Greg Tylka joining us here on Ag AM in Kansas. Jamie, we'll send it back to you.
Thanks, Duane. Be sure to come back after these messages for this week's Kansas Soybean Update.
Ag Promo Source is a unique group of marketing specialists with one mission: help your ag business grow. Each affiliate has their own area of expertise, and they work together to bring you advice, products, and services. To get started, visit agpromosource.com. Ag Promo Source. Together we grow.
As fourth-generation farmers themselves, Heinen Brothers Ag Service understands the risk and rewards of farming. So when it comes to quality aerial and ground application, fertilizer, ag chemicals, and anhydrous ammonia, call Heinen Brothers Ag today, 800-760-4964.
This segment is brought to you by the Kansas Soybean Commission. The Soybean Checkoff. Progress powered by Kansas farmers.
Welcome back to Farm Factor and the Kansas Soybean Update.
This is the Kansas Soybean Update. It's brought to you by the Kansas Soybean Commission. The Soybean Checkoff, progress powered by Kansas farmers. Joe Reichert, who is a farmer from Paola, is joining us. And Joe, you were the winner of the State Proficiency Award from FFA, and the award was specifically for oil crop production, and the Kansas Soybean Commission is proud to sponsor that particular award. Congratulations, first off, but talk about your application and some of the things you guys do on your family farm.
Most off, we plant mainly soybean, and we'll rotate it with corn, but we plant roughly around 3,000 acres of soybeans, and that's mainly our main crop. With usually on our better dirt, we rotate it in with the corn, and then most of the production we do on our farm.
So what were some of your responsibilities and even management decisions related to the SAE award?
Usually, I run the planter, and I run the sprayer in the spring, and in the summer, I'll run the sprayer for post, and then in the fall, I usually run the combine to harvest all our beans and corn.
When doing this, did you have any challenges that you faced in the award area? And if you did, how'd you overcome those challenges?
Probably the main challenge was like we run a lot of modern technology on our farm, like GPS and everything. And that was a pretty good challenge trying to figure out how to run all that. So I just kind of sat back and did some research and figured out how to run everything, and kind of helped me along the way. I used a lot of the internet to figure out things and called a lot of friends to help me out. And that was probably my biggest challenge.
So what were some of the things when you were working through this in the award area itself, maybe accomplishments or findings that you found during that time frame?
Probably the biggest accomplishment that I've ever had was probably learning how to run the sprayer, and probably trying to figure out, like, the numbers you got to do in to mix the chemicals, and, like, because you don't want to put too much and kill your crop, because then you won't have a crop there.
And if you think back, what were some of the experiences or opportunities that you take away from doing the SAE?
Well, probably the best opportunity I had was that my dad and my grandpa started this farm, and I could fall into this farm instead of trying to do it all on my own. I had someone there more to guide me on how to do everything.
That is Joe Reichert, a farmer from Paola. He was also the SAE Proficiency Award winner for the FFA in oil crop production. The Kansas Soybean Commission is proud to sponsor that particular award. This has been the latest edition of the Kansas Soybean Update. It's brought to you by the Kansas Soybean Commission. The Soybean Checkoff, progress powered by Kansas farmers. Learn more at kansassoybeans.org. For Kansas Soybeans, I'm Greg Akagi.
Hope you enjoyed this week's Kansas Soybean Update. Stay with us after the break for more as Duane Toews visits with Bill Beam.
What if U.S. soybean oil were an industry sensation? If end users started asking for it by name? That future is here. The time is now. To meet customer demands, the Soybean Checkoff is investing in varieties that produce oil with increased functionality. A message from the Kansas Soybean Commission, the Soybean Checkoff. Progress powered by Kansas farmers.
The Kansas Wheat Innovation Center in Manhattan is rediscovering ways to get improved varieties and new genetics in the hands of farmers faster. Grower-led and checkoff-funded research initiatives are bringing about positive change. This grassroots leadership provides a strong voice in Topeka and Washington, D.C. Now is the time to partner with Kansas Wheat in moving wheat forward. Kansas Wheat Commission and Kansas Association of Wheat Growers. Farmers investing in their future and yours. Log on to rediscoverwheat.org.
Kim Mannering with Hardy Insurance. Today we will talk about employee safety and work comp coverage. On your farm, do you ask your friends to come help? Are they considered employees or neighbors helping neighbors? Did you know that you can be held responsible just as if it's a work comp accident? Give me a call, we can discuss. 316-945-6733.
This segment brought to you by Sure Crop, liquid crop nutrition delivered right to your farm.
We're back. Now we learn about the latest farm bill with Duane Toews and Bill Bean.
Duane Toews joining you once again here on Ag AM in Kansas, and an opportunity to catch up with Bill Bean at USDA and working in the Farm Programs Division. Obviously, Farm Bill pretty important to a lot of producers across the country, but give us a little background on your particular position and what you do, Bill.
Okay. So I am, like we said, Deputy Administrator for Farm Programs, and let me back up if I can. Prior to being Deputy Administrator, I was and am a farmer from Eastern Pennsylvania. So I'm about 30 miles west of Philadelphia, farm in Chester County, where I grow row crops. I grow corn, soybeans, wheat, some hay, few head of cattle on about 4,000 acres there in southeastern PA.
I suspect having that background from a grower's perspective, it's kind of nice to have people that are affected by programs now in charge of those programs.
Well, I appreciate you saying that. So, and that is part of the goal, from what I understand, of Secretary Perdue, to have farmers in those key decision-making places that affect farmers like myself and ranchers to have a farmer's perspective as we apply policy. So last summer, I got a phone call from Richard Fordyce, FSA Administrator. He said, Bill, I need a Deputy Administrator to help us with policy. We're coming out with a new Farm Bill, hopefully soon, which, as you know, was signed here on December the 20th. And we are currently right in the middle of implementing that Farm Bill and rolling that out for all the farmers and ranchers and landowners here in the U.S.
We think about the unfortunate circumstance that government shutdown didn't help anything in that regard of getting it rolled out. But ultimately, those policy things are straightened out in D.C. and then all the way out to the D.C. at the county office.
That's right. So, yeah, shutdown was a bit of a roadblock, I guess, for the time being. But I can tell you, rest assured, that Farm Bill is going to roll out in a timely fashion. In fact, from what I understand, the Secretary announced some dates yesterday as to when some of the programs are going to start sign up. From my perspective, we've been working diligently. The dairy program, we had teams in twice so far. We're well into rolling out the new DMC program, which I believe is going to be a step up from the previous program that we have. And that will be starting here this summer with sign up on that. As far as the other programs, we're working on the matrix, which is literally hundreds of questions as we go through. It starts with me as Deputy Administrator. We go through some of the questions, and as the questions become maybe elevated, should we say, we will lift them to the administrator, then up to the undersecretary, and of course, the Secretary of Agriculture, of course, has a final say on policy.
In reality, the majority of those questions can be handled at the local office. They get the training to do those implementation things. Great thing from what I have heard, very similar to the previous Farm Bill that we were under, so there's not a ton of changes that growers have to evaluate or make determinations on.
Yeah, you're correct about that. This Farm Bill, from what I understand, has probably had maybe less changes than some previous Farm Bills. Obviously, 2014, we came out with the ARC PLC, which was a huge lift for our people here in D.C. But I would say probably this year, from that perspective, the dairy program probably has the largest changes.
We think about ultimately having that safety net. Growers across the country during those Farm Bill discussions before the new one was written was we've got to have a strong safety net program. Crop insurance a big part of that, and Congress took care of that, and now USDA will implement.
That's right. And so we don't oversee RMA or crop insurance from our perspective, but we do work closely with those partners. One of the things that you're going to see with the new ARC County is that we're going to be able to use RMA data now as far as yields go, as opposed to using NAS in the previous. Our producers, as we listen to them, have suggested that we use RMA data, and that's how we're going to be rolling out this Farm Bill in most counties, not all counties. If we don't have that information available to us, obviously we can't use it.
Our thanks to Bill Beam joining us here on Ag AM in Kansas. Jamie, we'll send it back to you.
Thanks, Duane. Come back after the break for this week's Kansas Farm Bureau update.
Earlier in my life, I rode bucking horses and rodeos, and my shoulders took such a beating, and that was probably the reason for having several previous surgeries on both shoulders. About a year ago, I decided that I didn't want to have another surgery. And so I contacted Kansas Regenerative Medicine, took their treatment process. It was relatively pain-free. Now, after 8 months, my shoulders have healed to the point where I think I'm probably 90 to 95% of normal. It takes a couple of months to start to see results and feel real progress. That continued to increase gradually until now at approximately 8 months. And I'm extremely pleased. I've got full range of motion. I can lift weights, I can throw, I can do a lot of things that I couldn't do without a lot of pain previously. So I'm tickled to death with the results, and I'd recommend this process to anyone.
This segment brought to you by Kansas Farm Bureau, the voice of agriculture. To join today or more information, go to kfb.org or find us on Facebook and Twitter.
Welcome back to Farm Factor and the Kansas Farm Bureau update.
We're going to be traveling the state this summer to celebrate our centennial anniversary. The tour will be Monday, July 29th through Wednesday, July 31st. So we'll start on Monday with a tour up at Juniper Hills Farm, north of Lawrence. We'll have lunch that day down at Dale Banks Angus. And then we'll make our way to Wichita and tour the Blue Stem Elementary School and have a meal that evening at Everly Farms. From there, on Tuesday, we'll go to Wichita and tour Cargill's new facility. We'll also see the Stafford County Flour Mill. And so we'll just do a variety of activities like that throughout the state. So if you're in the area and want to join us for one of the tours, we encourage you to go to our website. There's a link to it on our homepage, and so you can see an agenda. You can sign up. There's a registration form, so you can sign up. If there is a meal included, there will be a $10 fee. There is no transportation included, so if you want to go to one of the stops, we'll just meet you there. And we really would love to have you all there to just join other Farm Bureau members in the area and celebrate our organization.
Stay with us. We'll be back after the break with Plain Talk.
KFRM is one of the largest farm radio stations in the nation, dedicated to informing and entertaining rural listeners from northern Oklahoma to southwestern Nebraska. You can catch KFRM in many ways. Of course, 550 on the AM dial, streaming at kfrm.com, or on your smartphone by going to the TuneIn Radio app, or on Ag AM in Kansas on Tuesdays and Facebook every day of the week. KFRM, tune us in. You'll be glad you did.
Valley Vet Supply is devoted to providing information and professional quality products at reasonable prices.
Valley Vet Supply.
Sure Crop Fertilizers was started by my father, Don Sherman, and my mother, Shirley Sherman. Family business that started in the 80s. We predominantly focus on plant nutrients and what we can do to give growers better responses with the fertilizer dollars that they do, and what we can do to make those things work better for that grower. We're based out of Seneca, Kansas. We work with growers in their soil analysis to figure out what they need, and then we can put those in a blend that gives them the best results, and so that we can deliver that direct to their farm so that they have those nutrients where they need them, when they need them, and so that they can apply them in a manner that's very efficient to them and works well in their planting systems and what they're doing. Sure Crop Fertilizers has been around for a long time. We always say we're big enough to take care of everything you need, but yet we're small enough to do it quickly. You can get a hold of us at 1-800-635-4743. Our website is surecropfertilizers.com, and you can always email me at corey@surecropfertilizers.com, and with any questions you have, we'll be glad to answer it and work with you.
This segment brought to you by Kansas Corn. Learn more at kscorn.com.
Welcome back. Now let's see what Kyle and Duane are discussing today on Plain Talk.
Hi, this is Kyle Bauer with the guy who's going to explain this one to me. When you tie on the feed bag, be content with a genteel sufficiency. Any more than that is a vulgar plenty. Duane Toews.
I can't believe
what does that mean?
That's gluttony.
Okay, they're not talking about. Okay, this isn't about horses.
Well,
this is about.
It's people.
It's people.
The reference to a feed bag would be a horse reference.
Yes.
They're intending, when you're talking about genteel,
okay,
it's a different time than what you and I grew up in.
So when you when you sit down to eat a lot, you shouldn't do it with enthusiasm.
You should not eat a lot. It's like the buffet.
Okay.
How many times have you told me, Duane, this is all you should eat, not all you can eat. Yeah.
Yeah, all right. It's the same thing.
Otherwise, you get done and then you're miserable. You don't feel good afterwards.
And you know what? I'm actually getting smart enough now to actually leave food on my plate. Recently, we were out to eat, not you, me and some other employees, and I had lamb. It was a leg of lamb, shank, if you will. It was wonderful. Oh, my goodness, it was good.
Well, thanks for letting me know since I wasn't there.
It was like the best I've ever had. It was unbelievable, Duane. You should have been there.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Only I wasn't invited.
But you know what? I got full and I left some.
Really?
And I couldn't take it wasn't realistic to take a doggy bag. I was away from home.
By the way,
why is it a doggy bag?
Why is it referred to as a doggy bag?
Well, they don't call them that anymore. They call them to-go bag. In the old days, you did. You took
the bones home and
to your dog.
To your dog. It wasn't intended for you to consume.
No, because that got to be a joke. Then after a while, it's like someone would ask for a doggy bag, and everybody at the table knew they didn't have a dog.
Yeah.
So and it was literally a bag.
Yeah.
But now it's not a bag; it's a little container.
I need a to-go container.
To-go container. Right.
Yeah.
So I just wasted the lamb, Duane, and it was unbelievably great. Oh, but I quoted you at the dinner.
Oh, well,
because
at least I got that.
It wasn't just me who had the lamb.
Oh,
it was another person too.
Really?
And when it came with that big shank bone in it,
right?
It was an American lamb because it had a nice big shank bone to it. They had a little fork sticking in the top of that. And I knew what that was.
Yeah, the good stuff.
Yeah, I wouldn't say that, but
everybody didn't think it was the good stuff.
Well, I offered it to a number of people, and nobody took me up on it. That was to eat the
marrow
out of the middle of the bone. And you and I had ordered it once as an appetizer.
We had, and then I had an opportunity at another event to have it as an appetizer.
I tasted it. I mean,
it's not offensive. It's not my favorite appetizer. I mean, I can kind of take it or leave it. I certainly partook in the group that I was in. It seemed appropriate to not turn up my nose, and it's not offensive.
No,
at all. But
it wasn't. But truly, there wasn't anyone else at the table knew what that was for. So that was a first too.
See, you didn't know how cultured I really was.
I knew you were agricultured. Does that count?
Yeah, maybe.
Yeah. Did you fact or fiction me? We don't have much time.
French fries, Kyle Bauer, were invented in the United States. Fact or fiction?
That's a fact, Jack.
That is not.
That's not.
Belgium were the first country to consume French fries.
It just doesn't have the same ring to it. Belgian fries.
Yeah. Well, the fry has gotten used for a number of references some of which are more important to others.
Thanks for joining us. I'm your host, Jamie Bloom, and I hope you enjoyed today's show. See you next week on Farm Factor.
Closed captioning brought to you by Ag Promo Source. Together we grow. Learn more at agpromosource.com. To see this show and past episodes of Ag AM in Kansas, go online to agamandkansas.com.